people send messages through Instagram, through Twitter, and other TikTok, whatever they use in social media. What I think is this is par for the course for George Pickens, right? And then what we heard about him in college, we heard he was the same way, kind of had this attitude, was kind of whiny, immature, and you're seeing the same thing here. And what happens is when it becomes a big distraction. Now Najee Harris has to answer for it. Deontay Johnson has to answer for it. Other players have to answer for it. Coach Tomlin, he's not going to send a message to a guy like George Pickens through the media. He's going to do it face-to-face.
Are you convinced he did? I am. I'm assuming he met Pickens face-to-face.
I'm sure that they had a conversation. I don't know. I don't know if they pulled him into his office. I'm sure they had a conversation in the hallway when they bumped into each other, or maybe a text or something. But Coach Tomlin handles things differently, man. I mean, he's a guy that can relate to a lot of these players, and they respect him a lot for that. And that's why he's never lost a locker room, because he's able to relate to guys like George Pickens. So he will never come out and attack him. He'll never come out and say something in the media that would be derogatory or that would be attacking, because he would not want to hurt that relationship or some kind of
Is there a line between being critical of him or pointing out that he did something detrimental to the team without attacking him? Like, you played with Willie Parker, and I'm sure you remember Willie Parker had something to say one time about wanting more carries, and Tomlin said in front of the media that week, "When I walk by that window, I see 5 Lombardis, not 5 rushing titles."
No,
and yet he was
that
also
was a young Tomlin too, right? There's a Tomlin who's matured, who's really become crafty and veteran-like in a head coach. And he knows different personalities. Being a head coach, being a position coach, you've got to know your room. You've got to know your personnel, and he knows certain guys. And George Pickens handling this through the media probably isn't the best way to go tit for tat in the media,
but
right?
He buried Chooks this week in the media.
But he's a different personality. He's a different kind of guy, right? Chooks is way different.
And he's
than
also
George
not
Pickens.
as good.
He's not as good. But the reality is different personalities. You don't have to know how to handle guys. A guy like AB, you don't handle AB in the media. You handle him one-on-one. And you're able to, a guy like that, you can work with him and mold him, and he's malleable. But George Pickens is young. He has so much talent. The guy's super immature. And you're trying to balance that right now. And working through the media is not the way to do it, guys.
Pickens did not sound the least bit contrite.
That's the problem, though.
Yesterday.
That's the problem. Is it's everybody. What happened a few weeks ago? Who were they playing? I'm trying to remember. I remember talking with his pomp on the post-game show, and they were out in L.A. with Ahkello Witherspoon, and he had a couple personal foul plays or after the play, talking trash and stuff. And what happened? It wasn't his fault. It was their fault for getting him fired
under my
up.
skin.
Yeah,
right.
They were getting under my skin. It was their fault that they were getting me to respond this way. And I thought, holy smokes, like, nobody makes you respond. You respond, and you just choose how you're going to act to someone's behavior, right? And so so he was trying to blame them. He was not taking accountability. Until he takes accountability, he's going to continue to be like this. Okay,
then Merrill Hodge. Between you and him, you guys watch more film than Bill Belichick. He said this in so many words. Pickens runs routes halfway, sometimes doesn't play hard. We had somebody else, I think Shannon Sharp, watching him run routes, saying it's slow. Lazy routes, he talked about. That's Shannon
been
Sharp.
his MO.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you watch the film.
Yeah,
what do you see?
Yes, absolutely. He's been like that his whole time he's been here, though, and that's the reason why he only gets 5 targets versus Deontay Johnson, who had, 10 targets? It's because Deontay Johnson runs crisp, sharp routes, and he gets open, and George Pickens, he'll drift, right? He won't go hard, and so he doesn't have to separate because he thinks, like he always says, I'm always open. Just throw the ball, I'll go get it. Whether I'm covered or not, I'm going to go get it. And there are times when he's late. And, I saw one in the first quarter where there was a ball thrown to him, and he was covered. But the play that we've seen him make over and over and over again, he dropped the ball back in the end zone when it was. What was the score? It was 3 to. What was the score at the time? I'm trying to think.
Didn't get a second foot down.
He didn't get a second foot down. Whatever it was, it would have been. The Steelers would have taken the lead. Right. So they had to kick a field goal to tie the game. But they would have had a 4-point lead if they would have done that. He has to get his feet down. That's a lack of discipline, right? There's a guy who needs to grow up and he needs to mature. I keep seeing like Coach Mitchell, him in his head, just needs to grow up. Guys like this need to grow up and they need to mature. And Tomlin thinks that he can get him there by the way that he handles these things, just like he got AB there.
But from what you and Merrill are saying, he's not getting him there. Now we're a year into his career, and if he's running lazy routes and he's not playing hard enough and all of that, then it's not working.
But so you're looking at it this way, saying, okay, I can get a 22-yard touchdown catch and run leaping over a safety and get and win the game, right? He can win me games into the game. I got to keep George Pickens in this thing, and they're looking at thing. I can change him. I can get him to where he needs to be. I can help him mature, and this is a process. It's like right now with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, right? People are piling on him, and there are some people that are saying, hey, we just got to continue to work with him, continue to help him work through some of the issues that he has, and we're going to get him to where he needs to be a top quarterback. The same thing with Pickens. Tomlin's taking that approach. I just need to continue to work with him. I need to mold him. I need to shape him and help him become like an AB-like kind of receiver because he's super talented. They just got to be able to keep him under control.
Do you, if you're in the locker room, how are you looking at him? If you're a teammate.
I don't think a lot of – I'm just being honest with you, being in the locker room, unless he becomes a huge distraction.
They don't
guys
care.
Guys are so concerned about what they have to do, right? They're worried about getting themselves prepared for the game, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally. They're more worried about getting out for practice. They're more worried about other things. My experience is unless a guy becomes a huge distraction where it hurts the team on Sunday, which you can argue it has, but a lot of guys it's water under a bridge.
Was there ever a guy where you and your defensive mates, all of you guys respected, veterans, leaders, great culture in the room? You didn't have to say who, but was there ever a guy where you or somebody else pulled him aside and said, this isn't going to fly? Not in here.
Listen, I think we had such a strong culture with the Steelers when I was there. We had a way of doing things. We worked hard, right? We were lunch pail type guys. And so there's guys that came to the Steelers and you just had to say, hey, listen, if I want to stay here, I've got to raise my preparation. I got to improve the way that I handle things. If I want to be how I was before I got here, I'm not going to be here. I'm gone. Right? And so it was the culture that brought guys up. Right, and the struggle right now with the Steelers is they have a lot of young guys. Who are the leaders on that team besides Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt? But on offense, who are the leaders right now? Who's going to sit there and say this is how we do things on offense? They don't have those guys.
There's really nobody that fits that mold.
There's no Hines Ward, right? There's no Jerome Bettis, guys. I'm talking about guys that I played with, right? I mean, those were culture guys that you would look at and go, okay, if I want to be here, I got to be like them. If I want to be in the NFL for 13, 14 years. I need to watch that guy, and and coaches used to say that. Hey, if you want to be around, look at James Ferrier. If you want to be here that long, look at Aaron Smith. Do they have guys on that roster right now that they can look at and say, hey, if you want to be here 12 years, look at that guy and emulate him, do what he does. On offense, they don't have those guys.
I guess Najee and Deontay maybe.
They're young.
They're young, but Najee was the captain.
Najee's in his, third year?
Third year.
And so you look at that and think, okay, well, he's not there yet, right? And Najee's had his struggles. He's a saint in terms of following the rules and doing everything he's supposed to do and being a leader in that way. But in terms of his play on the field, he's had his struggles.